Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Mata, and today I will be discussing an article written by Michael Fullan and Jim Knight. The title of the article is Coaches as System Leaders. Fantastic article. If you have an opportunity, I would definitely recommend this article. It is a fantastic read. You will truly enjoy it. The topic of discussion for today's article is pretty much instructional coaches in our school districts. It is mentioned in the article how, next to the principal, coaches are the most crucial change agent in a school. Is this true? Is there any truth behind it? If so, why or why not? This article provides a great amount of research and evidence indicating that effective instructional coaches can be the missing factor needed to achieve higher success in schools with our students. Um, Before I read this, I had a general idea of what an instructional coach was and or what their title was and what they did in the schools, but I never really knew the details as far as is that all they do or are they supposed to do anything for me? What am I supposed to use them for? Um, I currently teach in an elementary school, and um, after conducting much internship hours for my administrative degree, I have witnessed many good instructional coaches and many bad instructional coaches based on what I knew then. Now that I have a better understanding of what an instructional coach is, the article really helped me see that. Now I can truly say this is what an instructional coach should do. This is what an instructional coach is not doing correctly. And a lot of the times, it is not necessarily up to the instructional coach to what he or she should do. A lot of the time, you have administrators misleading their instructional coaches and having them do work that they are not supposed to be doing. Um, so this article does a fantastic job in complimenting instructional coaches and explaining the work criteria that they must do when in the schools. So, according to the article, instructional coaches are master teachers. In all reality, they are master teachers. The majority of instructional coaches should have a graduate degree. Um, they are to undergo rigorous trainings and uh, non-stop training to improve the pedagogical skills of themselves to benefit their teachers in the classrooms. An instructional coach should spend their days. This is very important. This is something that now I know what instructional coaches should do. They should spend their days planning lessons with classroom teachers. They should be modeling lessons for classroom teachers, observing teacher instruction, facilitating meetings, and reviewing data. Along with facilitating meetings, the leader, they must be a part of a collaborative marking of student work, which means they should have a way to model how to grade student work. According to the curriculum in which you're using, are your work results complementing what you're teaching? Is it complementing what they should be learning? Okay, so data analysis plays a very big role in instructional coaches. Um, the article mentions how it is extremely vital that school districts organize themselves to focus relentlessly on instructional improvement. For this reason, districts created the position of instructional coaches. Okay, because of the heavy stresses, the large amounts of pressure put onto school districts by the state, by states, and across the country in general. They want to see high test scores. They want to see high student achievement rates, and sad to say, it has not been like that in a long time. There are exceptions. There are school districts that are doing exceptionally well, and at the same time, there are school districts that are struggling with their student success. So, a way to kind of show growth and improvement in school districts is to go ahead and create the position of instructional coaches. That is the reason why we have them in our schools today, or we should have them in our schools today. Um, Instructional coaches should teach teachers how to be the best that they can when implementing strategies in the classroom. Pedagogical skills can be easily taught, they can be easily learned through an effective instructional coach who models for them in the classroom. Now, it is my understanding that an instructional coach attends these trainings um, in a certain district, region, state, where have you, and they bring that information back to their schools and they are to share it, give trainings, PLCs, with their staff at their school. Okay, this is professional development to improve effective teachers. According to the criteria I shared with you a few minutes ago about instructional coaches and their job duties, if we have instructional coaches working at this level, at top level, why do we still show low levels of student success across the country? That is a major problem that we're dealing with, and the main implementation of instructional coaches was to help increase scores. So why don't we have successful schools? We've had instructional coaches in our schools and our districts for the past 10 years. Well, the article mentions how we as administrators, we as educators, and we as members of the learning community are not using our instructional coaches effectively. Okay, a major issue of concern in the article is how instructional coaches focus primarily on doing more quasi-administrative work and or clerical work, when instructional coaches should be in the classroom modeling, in PLCs, working with teachers, planning, analyzing data. Most of the time we have them doing clerical work. We have them making copies. We have them filing documents. We have them running errands for our administrators, running errands for our teachers. So we pretty much have them as personal secretaries and not necessarily instructional leaders, in which is what they should be doing. Okay. Out of all the data recorded throughout this article, it shows how many instructional coaches across the nation constantly complain about their lack of trainings as professionals. They know what their instructional duties are, but once they enter the school, the administrators have a different idea of their position. There's much conflict that comes forth from this. The instructional coaches comment on how they are rarely sent to trainings. They are rarely out exploring new pedagogical skills to bring back to the school to offer their teachers. Therefore, it remains stagnant. Nothing is really getting done. Nobody is really being taught. The instructional coaches are not really doing their job, and they feel that themselves. There seems to be a big issue across the nation with instructional coaches, starting with the teachers. Teachers have a hard time confiding in these instructional coaches because most of the time an instructional coach is a teacher who worked with the staff previous years. Therefore, there seems to be a lack of respect, a lack of confidence, and kind of the situation where I have worked with that person for the past 10 years. I know what he or she is capable of. I am not going to listen to that person any longer. He or she does not know what they're doing. So, even though that may be the case at times, there is a big issue there. We have to make sure our instructional coaches, are competent for their line of work. We have to make sure that our teachers understand that their role there are to be administrative leaders. They are to work with the administrators and work and collaborate with the teachers, even with district officials and province officials, to make sure that the needs of their students are being met. It also explains a possible resolution to the whole teacher and instructional coach conflict. A possibility of resolving this issue is to bring forth instructional coaches from other schools, possibly from other areas. Having a new face in the building as an instructional leader can be a very, very positive thing if you do not know that person. Okay, he's pretty much starting fresh. So that was an idea that they discussed in the article. One thing that the article concentrates on mostly is the 14 parameters to student success. I will read these parameters to you rather quickly, but it also provides evidence of how effective these 14 parameters can be if followed correctly. Let me go ahead and read those to you. Here we go. Parameter 1, shared beliefs and vision. Parameter 2, embedded literacy coaches. 3, timetabled literacy books. Number 4, principal leadership. Number 5, early and ongoing intervention. Number 6, case management approach. Number 7, literacy, professional development. Number 8, in-school grade and subject meetings. Number 9, book rooms with level books and resources. Number 10, allocation of resources to literacy learning. Number 11, action research focused on literacy. Number 12, parental involvement. 13, cross-curricular literacy connections. And number 14, shared responsibility and accountability. So, one goal through this article is for instructional leaders to implement these 14 parameters for effectiveness in a school. Research shows, according to the article, that major improvements can be done if followed as necessary. For example, the article reports that in recent studies, a trial was conducted over the past 8 years where a large stagnant system of about 2 million students in 4,000 elementary schools and 900 secondary schools in 72 school districts in Ontario achieved substantial improvements in student achievement simply by using these 14 parameters. Literacy and numeracy are up to about 14% across 4,000 elementary schools, and the high school graduation rate has climbed from 68% to about 81%. Now, although research shows this was conducted in the past 8 years, you can obviously see the improvements with effective instructional coaches based on the 14 parameters. So the question is now, why was there so much success in these districts? The reason being is because they made it a priority to make instructional coaches an integral part of their curriculum and instruction within the classrooms. They were considered to be the heart of the strategy and prioritize instructional capacity building. In order to accomplish this type of strategy, instructional coaches at the school, district, and province level worked with instructionally focused administrators such as principals, superintendents, province officials, and teachers. Key word, collaboratively. You have to collaborate with your administrators. Your administrators have to share the same focus as the instructional coach in order for success to take place. You have to be obviously instructionally inclined and focus on the needs of the students. Where do we have to grow? What is it that we have to do? Instructional coaches, if trained and used correctly, they can serve as change agents, which is a better term used in this article. Working as part of the school leadership team, they can collaborate with teachers and help focus not only on struggling, but on all students within the school. That pretty much sums up the main idea of an instructional coach within a district. Now, I discussed reasons and benefits of having instructional coaches. I've discussed reasons of how they can be extremely effective if you use them correctly. And I have also discussed ways in which administrators in schools in today's society use them more as a secretary and not necessarily the job that they're supposed to be doing. So there are pros and cons. I believe, personal opinion, if you want to have a productive school, an effective leadership team, you must be aware of your curriculum and instruction, and you must be aware of the person in which holds the position of an instructional coach. You have to work together for the better good of the school. Okay, you have to know your data. You have to know your instruction. When a system is heavily laden with accountability from reforms, it's difficult for an effective education system to evolve. So schools need less blatant accountability and testing and more capacity building. Let's not focus so much on the scores. Let's focus more on team building. Let's focus on capacity building. Let's focus more on learning across schools. And most importantly, the transparency of results and pedagogical practice, which are the very things instructional coaches should be good at. As mentioned before, an amazing article, 5 pages long. It's a quick read, full of rich content. It is truly amazing. It concludes by expressing how instructional coaches can be the determining factor between effective teachers in the classroom and or a constant pattern of stagnant student achievement scores. Instructional coaches need development as a change agent at both the instructional level and as well as the level of organizational and system change. So it's time to recast their role as integral to a whole system school reform. Fantastic article. That pretty much sums it up. Like I mentioned, I only hit key points in the article, pros and cons of an instructional coach, and whether or not we're using them effectively the way we are supposed to. It is up to the administrators to work with the instructional coaches, to also work with district officials. Overall, the authors of this article did a fantastic job, and I would definitely recommend this article for all instructors out there today, even administrators, to never stop learning. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope you have a good afternoon.